I'm going to dive straight into this logo right here. Okay. And we're going to talk about this really quick. And upcoming on Sunday, tune in for my live stream on Sunday because we'll dive into it a little bit more. But this is just for February today, for February the 2nd. This is Thursday. I'm going to dive right in on this, you guys. Okay. Because I think it's important to talk about. I don't want to spend the whole live stream talking about it because it's still so early. But I have got a nice little article for perspective for you. As a graphic designer. Now, let me just talk about this for really quickly. Let me just tell you about my background and history here. So I don't know if I don't talk about this a lot because, you know, I'm all about my toys and collectibles and I have my toy store and my toy business. But I went to university for graphic design. You know, I graduated in 2001. And so since that date, I have been working as a professional designer in the industry, you know, like for over 20 years. I have a business called Brand and Bridge. It's a graphic design business. I've worked for numerous companies. You know, I've done tons of branding projects over the years. I used to be a magazine art director back in the 2000s. And anyway, I still have my graphic design company. That's what I do when I'm not here doing videos and hanging out and selling toys and stuff. It's my profession. Okay. So just so you know, I have a lot of experience in this area. And so I have a really, you know, I think that really should bode well for your, you know, listening to my opinion about this particular logo. And your opinion counts 100%, whether you have no graphic design background at all. I mean, you know, everything is subjective when it comes to design. It's all good. But I wanted to just break this down a little bit for you. And I wanted to also get into talking about why people hate rebrands. Now, I'm not here in my live stream to pump this logo. Okay. I like the way it looks. I like the way the brand is being rolled out. I can see the package right here that they put together. I actually like it, but more than me liking the artwork, because the artwork is subjective, I actually like the fact that Veve has a brand platform now to base all their marketing on. That is the key thing to remember here. It's not about like what color the logo is, what shape the logo is. It's really about them actually having a solid strategic message. And that's what branding is all about. That's what you do if you go through this process is you create a platform and a basis a basis basically to like, you know, do all of your marketing, all of your like communication, all of your internal stuff, everything. You know, this is what Veve was lacking. It was always talked about what they wanted to be or what they could be or what we think they are or what they think they are. Now they actually have it put in place. Now, this is a great thing for a company. This is one of the biggest things that a company can do. And it is an investment in your company. In case you don't know about what branding is, it's not just going to get a logo on Fiverr or something, or just getting some student to do it or getting some crowdsource. It's about investing in your company and building the proper like structure there with your brand platform. So Veve now looks like they have one. Now, you can dislike the logo. That's totally fine. No worries. You know, it's all subjective. You can hate the heart. It's okay. You don't have to like the colors. You can like the previous one better. I mean, that doesn't matter. That's all good. That's what's going to happen when you put out a rebrand. And in fact, I don't even really like calling this a rebrand by Veve. I like just calling it just a brand. They finally have a brand and not just a logo. Do you know what I mean? There's a big difference there. So anyway, they've put this together right here with a lot of thought and stuff. And some people think it's a waste of money, but it is the actual core and the actual foundation of any business. Any big company, any like really established, successful company has a brand platform that they invested in. This is what it is. So I'm coming at it from someone who's in the profession. And of course, you know, I'm going to be like obviously assigning a lot of value to that because it's something I've done for a living. So obviously I see the importance in it. And the really successful companies do as well. I mean, you can go get a logo anywhere, right? You know that. Everybody knows that. It's not about that. It's about building the structure. So I'm curious to see where it goes from here. And also, I'm going to read this little thing for you about why people hate rebrands, because people hate rebrands. It's totally known by all the design profession. This is what happens. There's always major backlash no matter what happens. This could be the greatest logo of all time, and you're still going to get backlash because it is a big change, and it's actually a change that people, you know, did not expect. And it's a change from something that they've grown to love and adore and get really attached to. And when you change that, it's going to cause a bad reaction for a lot of people. It happens in all the big companies. Like if you go back, if you look at all of the big companies that have done rebrandings, like Amazon and all sorts of companies over the years and how they have, it always causes major backlash at the beginning, but you have to look beyond the first initial reaction and see what Veve is trying to do here. And that's what I'm looking at, right? It doesn't matter if you don't like the logo. That's cool. I'm not going to fight with anybody about that. It's all good. It's all subjective, right? But here, check out what they've put together. I just grabbed these from the internet. They haven't sent me any artwork files or anything like that. This is just me. You can see their banner at the top. That's kind of like their thing with their colors. They have different colors that they're doing on different platforms. And I think the idea there is to differentiate what platform what you're on and kind of brand that platform, like their Instagram page and their Twitter and all that stuff. I mean, they're assigning different color variations for those platforms, just so there's a difference there between their posts, right? So that's interesting. You can see the actual logo, the wordmark logo right here on its own is very strong without the heart, like it's got I really like this new logo. It actually has more depth to it. Okay, it's actually on a slight angle. It's like slightly italicized. There's more movement to it. I actually think it's a little bit more corporate. It's a little more professional. I really do like this logo by itself from a graphic design perspective. Then you add in the tagline at the bottom. That's just the way they do it. It goes underneath. It's just kind of centered there. It's fine with the heart is actually like just bolded. So that's kind of like, it's their tagline. They'll use it as much as they want, but it's not their actual brand, right? It's just their messaging. And the thing about it is that they're going to use that messaging to go out and attract new people and really, set the stage of what they want this app to be. Okay, you don't have to agree with that. We'll see where it goes. It's all good. You can see the actual icon itself, which is the heart logo, like the actual icon that they're going to be using. Now, a lot of people have not liked this, but again, a lot of people who are in the silent majority, have no problem with this. There's a lot of loud people who don't like it. And that's what happens when you have a rebrand. You're going to get a large audience of people who are like very vocal and very upset. And that's just natural. That happens in rebrands all the time. But you can see sort of what they're doing with this logo. They have the heart, of course, because of the whole thing about collecting at heart. And they're kind of trying to bring that emotional state into it. But they're also there's like a diamond shape to this, which is kind of like a diamond hand, like diamond holding, like the gem shape. That's why you have these edges to it, and it's not just a standard heart. There's a bit of a diamond thing going on there, I believe. Now, they haven't told me this or anything, or I haven't heard this, but this is sort of what I'm getting from it as well. Of course, there's the overlapping depth with it, which kind of like, sort of symbolizes, you have like a folder, you're putting stuff inside of it, like there's depth to it. And then, of course, there's the V shape that goes into the heart as well. So it's a very well thought out logo. There's a lot that's going into this logo that probably is going over people's heads right now. And the thing about that is that Veve has to do a very good job now in the next coming weeks and days after this initial first reaction to explain what they're doing to the community, to put out really good communication and messaging about it, to talk about what they're doing with their brand, because that is one of the main things that people hate about rebranding is when they don't know what's going on and why. They're left a little bit in the dark. So it's all about communication from Veve at this point on. As a company. So if I was their branding consultant, which I'm not, they hired a company or whoever to do this. I don't know who they did, but I'm sure they were a very high level company or whatever. We'll see. We'll find out. I'd be really curious to know, because their portfolio would speak volumes then, right? So, if I was their consultant, I'd be like, okay, now you got to start like explaining things. And like sometimes in a rebranding process, you want to bring in the community a bit on that to give them some light. They didn't do that. So that's obviously going to cause a backlash too, because suddenly it's sprung upon you. And this is a big surprise. So this is one thing, this is a strategy that I wouldn't normally do. I would normally include my audience a bit just to let them know it's coming, so there's not such an initial backlash. But that's just the thing. But you can see the older logo now down here, right here. You can see it's a nice little clean logo, but I do actually prefer the new Veve itself. I believe it's more corporate. It's actually more in tune with what's going on online right now as well. Okay, whereas the old logo was like, it's nice. We love it because we got attached to it, but you have to move forward. Now, let me just get into this before I get to the chat right here, because I want to read this little thing to you. And this is interesting. Okay. Very interesting. This is just helping you guys. This is my 101 live stream. So this is branding 101 for you guys right here. And I don't talk about this stuff a lot because it doesn't really apply to Veve, but I'm loving that I can talk about branding and design, my other profession right here with Veve. It's actually really cool for me. So I'm going to, I'll link this article. I'll tweet this out for you guys. It's from a website called It's a Happy Medium. And it's actually really good. I follow this a lot. This is a graphic designer's perspective of why people despise rebrands. Okay, and it happens a lot. And there's a lot of psychology that goes into this. So just bear with me for a second right here. This is by Adam Goen, very well known. You guys probably don't know who he is, but that's okay. This is like done about a year ago, about just over a year ago, this article, but it's a very good resource for people, right? So most people right here hate rebrands, okay? It's just true. This is not a surprise, everybody. I'm not surprised by the reaction online. Most people hate rebrands. This is the way it goes, especially day one. Even small tweaks to brands ignite derision from both fans of the brand and general internet haters alike. From harmless internet memes to downright revolt, the public reaction to rebrands can make you wonder why a company does it in the first place. And that is the key. Why is Veve doing this? Now, they have to communicate that better, and they will over the coming days for sure. So that's part of the thing. Why are they doing this? Whether you like the logo or not, right? So, so what is it about these seemingly benign changes to a company's visual identity that sparks outrage from the public? And what can the marketers learn from the wrath? So there's no hard feelings. So most people, this is just generally speaking, but many people are uncomfortable with change, okay? And it's especially true when it comes to familiar and relied upon brands. So when you're used to something and you're with them the whole time, and then there's a change, people do react interestingly to that. They don't like change. It's just people make snap judgments about a rebrand without taking the time to let it sink in. So you have to let a rebrand sink in for a few days to really understand what it is they're doing, and then come back at it in a couple days from now. Generally speaking, you guys, there's a stat that about 80% of all people who dislike rebrands right off the start actually come around after a couple of weeks and start to actually really like the new look and the new logo once the thing starts to roll out, if it's done properly, right? For sure. So in some cases, a snap judgment may be putting it highly, but even when reactions to a rebrand are overwhelmingly negative and people care enough about your brand to voice their disapproval about a new color or logo, chances are you're doing something right. So this is the thing. The fact that people are upset shows that people care, which is actually really good for Veve and actually, understanding their community. Because if nobody gave a crap about this rebrand, that is a really bad sign for Veve. But a lot of people do, which means that people are invested. They care about the brand, and their voices are totally fine to be heard. I have no problem with people saying, I don't like the logo. I would never get into a fight about people about that kind of thing. It's all subjective, just like art, just like design. The opinion is important for sure, right? So one logo design study illustrates that the stronger a consumer is associated with the brand, so the more that people are in love with Veve or really invested in here, the more negatively they react when the brand changes. People choose to associate with brands that they believe represent themselves in some way and symbolize the relationship between the person and the brand. Even when nothing else about the company changes, a new logo or color scheme threatens the relationship that the person has with the company, leaving most loyal fans feeling left out or forgotten. So, I mean, that might be a bit of a stretch, but this is what happens. People are very loyal to what Veve has, and then look and everything and all that, and then they just want to jump on it. It's totally fine. People develop relationship with brands. Brands can be inspiring, exciting, oftentimes comforting. That's an interesting word too. You see that old Veve logo. It can be comfortable, right? And I think when a brand changes without indication of that, what it means to a person, it can really be upsetting, right? So you bridge the gap. Now, here's the thing that Veve has to do, and this is a very good article, and this just is part and parcel with being in the profession. This is what you got to do, and they will do. This is only day one, right? But bridge the gap. Change is never easy, but keeping fans in the loop about why the brand changed and what it means for them is one way to maintain the relationship between the brand and its fans. So while the changes that occur to a rebrand may seem trivial, we want to remind people that these changes are a small glimpse of the work that rebrands involve. So there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes of this. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, why aren't they working on, MCP instead of this stuff? But they are, right? This is another side. This is a different area that's not connected with that in regards to their development team. This is them, getting their company actually professionally done, finally, to be taken seriously up with brands like Disney and Marvel and all of these companies that have gone through these processes big time and have major brand platforms and invest a lot in their marketing and in their communication. Veve finally now has that. Okay. So, it's really important for people to kind of recognize and understand what's really going on right here. But this is the thing that Veve has to do. Many rebrands go wrong by not explaining well enough what the new brand means for customers. Okay, so Veve has to explain what this brand actually means. They did a little bit of it in their community update, but I would expect as they go on, they're going to explain exactly more about why they're doing this kind of thing, what they're going after. And I think it's going to start to become more obvious as time goes on. With marketing, they're going to do targeting like that. That's what I'm hoping they're going to do. That's what they need to do for sure. When companies rebrand, it's usually to reflect a change in direction for the business. So, all right, a change in direction. This is what they're doing, you guys. If all fans see this as a new brand without any explanation as to what change in their experience as a customer, it may result in fans taking out their frustration on the new identity. So this is a little thing that can happen when you do launch something. The communication as explaining to why, and explaining what they're doing. That's what has to come, but they have to go through this initial stage. There's just going to be people who don't like it no matter what you do. Now, here is the last part right here before we move on and have some fun with Veve and stuff and all that. Take it in stride, okay? So this is what my message would be, and this article is really good for this. To the Veve community, take it in stride, everybody. Seeing the outrage online can make any company reconsider its decision to start a rebranding effort. They might be sitting back there going, oh no, people really hate this. But brands need to look past these initial reactions to think long-term. So that is exactly what we need to do as a community as well. Think past the initial reaction by a group of people who don't like the logo, and it could be you, and that's totally fine. You're allowed not to like it. I'm not going to tell anybody not to like it, that you're wrong. You're not wrong. If you don't like it, you don't like it, and that's just the way it is. It's all right. But try to look beyond that as to what Veve is trying to build, and try to look beyond that, and we'll see what Veve, they have to fulfill what they're trying to do here. That's the thing. They're not just home and clear now because they have a new logo. They have to fulfill this brand promise of the collector at heart, and we'll see what they do. But you have to look beyond it, beyond the initial reaction. Give it a week and see how you feel after you see it used in the different areas. You'll start to get used to it, guaranteed. It's really interesting, and I want to go back to this right here. I'll leave that article there. I'll tweet that out for you guys if you want to read the whole thing. It's really interesting. But if we get back to just the logo right here, this is just coming from my perspective, okay? And this is not Moon Boy stuff. I am a graphic designer, okay? Like, this is coming from my breakdown. I'm critiquing it right now. I do believe that this word mark right here is stronger than the original. I do see what they're doing with the heart, with the diamond shape, the V shape, the heart shape. All of that stuff makes sense to me. It shows that they've put thought in. The collectors at heart thing, some people might think it's a little bit cheesy and stuff, but I do see where they're going here. They're trying to actually like make, get on the piggyback on the fact that people love collecting and all of that stuff. And it's like right in your heart. It's like right there. There's a reason why the New York Yankees put their logo on the heart, you guys. This is not a new theme, okay? If you look at the Yankees have their heart right there on their jersey. I mean, it's right on the heart, you guys. This is not that one's like subtle, but this is a little bit more like, obvious, but this is kind of the thing they're thinking about right here. Anyway, so I wanted to put that out for you guys. I hope you like that. I really want to hear your feedback about it. I tweeted out, and let me show you this. This is really interesting too. Okay. And I know I'm talking a lot before I even get to the chat, but if I go back to the internet here and I go to Twitter, check this out. If I go to my profile, I'm going to talk about that Black Panther comic too, by the way. I go to my profile. Look at this right here. This is really interesting. I'm not going to read a bunch of comments from people, but check it out. Look at this tweet that I put out yesterday. Congrats to David, you and the entire Veve team for this fantastic rebrand. And that's my opinion. I like it. I'm allowed to. You don't have to. It's all good, but I think it's great. As someone who's worked in a professional designer for the past 20 years, this brand platform looks well thought out. That's the thing. Even if you don't like the colors, you guys, it was well thought out. It looks professionally designed to me. It's nice. Like the actual crafting of it looks good, especially on that word mark. And the position Veve, and will position Veve for great for the future, in my opinion. As long as they fulfill. Now, this tweet has got 22,000 views, 35 comments, tons of negative comments from people I don't even know. People who just came out of the closet, like out of the woodwork, out of the shadows, and we're all like, "Oh, you're an idiot." like that would hurt my feelings. It's so funny to me. And it's really interesting though. And I do appreciate anyone who comments on it, because like all of these reactions, they are what they are. They're just natural. And it's, you just got to go with it and go with the flow with it. Nobody's wrong with how they're feeling about this. I want people to understand that. You're allowed to love it. You're allowed to hate it. It's all good. You don't have to hate on people if they like it. They're allowed to like it. You're allowed to hate it. It's okay. We'll see what Veve does with it moving forward in the future. Anyway, you guys, that's what I wanted to talk about with that as well. So we'll get into that in the chat a little bit